Okay, I'm back with another video about all of the books that I read in the year of 2024, and we're now in 2025, and I'm just not over all of the books that I read last year. Can't believe it's last year already, that's insane. I do have a special guest. It's a cat. Can you see her? She's so cute. She has to hear me talk about books all the time, so she should be fine. So I'm just going to talk about the literal best 24 books I read this year, and she's stretching. Anyway, I read so many good books no, it's not this year anymore. I read so many good books in the year of 2024, and I'm hoping that 2025 gives me as many good reads. That was unintentional. I hope I read just as many good books in the year of 2025 as I did 2024, because these books that I'm about to talk about, I'm obsessed with and think about them all the time. So prepare to hear me yap, because I have lots to say and we have 24 books to cover. This is going to be such a long video to edit. Yay! Okay, I'm just jumping right in. In the 24th spot. Okay, look. I think it's safe to say that my favorite non-fantasy series is the Boys of Tommen series. I love these characters so much, right? I love them all. But Gibbsy, I have been waiting for his book for so long. Gibbsy is my favorite. He's in my top 5 book boyfriends. Literally the most wholesome person, and I was so excited to get his book finally. And while it was disappointing, I think that's a very popular opinion, I still have to put it on this list because I love this series and these characters are just everything to me. And my poor Gibbsy just deserves the literal world. I need more of him. I need more of him and Claire. This was not enough to satisfy me. I will read any amount of pages about Gibbsy, period. But these characters in general, this world, it's just so special to me, and I'm really hoping she comes out with a book in 2025. Fingers crossed. But regardless of my more negative feelings towards this book, I'm so happy we have a book for Gibbsy in general. So I love the series, and if you've been considering reading Boys of Tommen, I think you should just try it, because it's literally like a character study, and the romances are so emotional, so beautiful. You get so connected to these characters, and I seriously would read about them forever and hope she never stops writing books about them, because I couldn't live without them. And I look forward to Boys of Tommen books every single day. Similarly to how I look forward to Taylor Swift albums every single day. Just every day praying that a new one comes out. So yes, this is number 24. Number 23 is Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. I've only read Firefly Lane and The Nightingale by her, but I really want to read more of her this year. Her writing and her storytelling and the way that she writes about women is so stunning, and I can't wait to get more into her this year. But Firefly Lane was actually the last book I read in the year of 2024. And it was it was a sad way to end the year. If you know, you know. But it was such a heartfelt book to end the year off with. And I think it represents female friendships pretty freaking well. It will make you cry. It will make you want to squeeze your mom. If you have a daughter, squeeze your daughter. It's just a beautiful book about the relationships between women. And it makes you think about so many things in life. And I just appreciate her writing so much. Kristen Hanna is such a talented author. And again, I just can't wait to get more into her. And I highly recommend buddy reading it with another woman in your life, because I read it with my cousin, and we had so much to talk about, so many things that the other picked up on that the other one didn't, and it's a great book to appreciate with other women. And if you want to get into Kristen Hanna, I think this is a good book to start with. Okay, number 22nd is a book that I don't own, so I can't hold it up, but I will put it on the screen, and that is Lessons in Chemistry. I was so not expecting to love this book as much as I did. Even when I finished it, I thought, okay, that was a really good book. It was really cute writing, very unique, and then I kind of didn't think about it, but as time has passed, I just constantly keep thinking about it. It has such a badass female main character. It has great supporting characters, and I think it was just a really beautifully unique told story. And the show was pretty great too. This was just one that pleasantly surprised me. And if you want a great fiction read, I would highly recommend giving this a try. I read it in one sitting and it managed to touch my heart, make me laugh, make me get emotional. And yeah, I'd highly recommend. Number 21 is The Fake Out, which is in the Vancouver Storm series. It's a series of hockey romances, and I'm a sucker for fake dating, what can I say? It made me giggle a lot. I liked our characters. I liked the hockey team and the friendships. It just gave me everything that I needed in a hockey romance. And if you're looking for a book to make you giggle or a series to make you giggle, I would highly recommend the series. Very swoon-worthy, very cute, very easy reads. And if you love fake dating, you will love this book. The 20th spot goes to Carrie Soto is back. I personally love Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. I've read pretty much all of them, but I will say this is one of my favorites by her. I grew up playing sports, so the sport aspect really touched me, and the relationship between her and her father was really beautiful. Her story was inspiring, and while yes, this is a book about tennis, it's so much more than that. I really love her writing, and she always has great characters, and her books are never too hard to read, but they hit you with so much emotion. They're usually pretty short, quick, easy reads. The depth in Carrie's character is so entertaining and heartwarming, and she was truly just a great main character to read about. I'm really excited about Taylor Jenkins Reid's new book coming out in 2025. I will read anything she writes, honestly, and this was definitely one of my favorites by her. Okay, number 19 is Bad Blood, the 4th book in the Natural series. I loved this series. It was the perfect young adult mystery series, and you connect to all of the characters so well. But this was my favorite in the series because there's a mystery that bleeds into all 4 of the books, and it concludes in the final one, and I just really loved seeing how it ended. It was very intense, very shocking, and by this 4th book, you've connected to the characters so much, so I just really enjoyed this book, gave it 5 stars. And if you're into mystery and young adult, I would really, really recommend the series. Easy Kindle read, cute characters, really entertaining plot. This book was a great conclusion to the series. I personally loved the romances and how it ended up. Jennifer Lynn Barnes knew what she was doing with this series. I'll say that. I am so excited to talk about this next one. Number 18. Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I love Abby Jimenez. She can do no wrong in my eyes. All of her books are so funny, so lighthearted, but emotional at the same time. The romance is so swoon-worthy. Her writing is really great. She just writes the perfect rom-coms, and this was a perfect book. I so enjoyed. Hello. The relationship between these 2 characters was literally so cute, and it's a great anxiety representation with the male main character. Of course, there's dogs in every Abby Jimenez book, and they're so cute, always. But the letter aspect and the fake dating, she just did so good with this book. So in love with her and every book she will ever write. I'm an Abby Jimenez stan. Seriously, go pick this up or pick any of her books up now. Okay, in 17th place is a book called The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I was so pleasantly surprised with this book. I mean, I expected to like it, but I just loved every part of it. I read it in October, which is the literal perfect month to read it in. The magical aspect, the characters, the character development, it was so funny, so heartwarming. The setting is so cool, and there's a magical aspect to it that I just adored. The writing was truly beautiful. It's such a great fall book to read near Halloween time. Totally gives those witchy vibes and will make you laugh. I'm still thinking about the book months after reading it. It seriously was such a special book, and I highly recommend. Okay, 16th place. The one and only, the OG enemies to lovers, Pride and Prejudice. So I have a book club with my cousins and my aunts and my mom, and I was the only one in our club who hadn't read this book. So reading it with a bunch of other women who know the story and love the story and were able to help me with the hard writing, especially because this was one of the first classic books that I'd ever read, it was nice to have other women around me helping me. But I am obsessed with this story. It's a classic for a reason. It was so fun, and it was challenging in a really good way. Jane Austen writes characters so well. I was so invested in all of them, even the really annoying ones. But the romances were just top tier. Elizabeth is an iconic main character, but I will say, I'm personally a Jane girl. I was obsessed with her whole vibe. She's the oldest sister. Her plot was really interesting to me. And while it is a classic and it's hard to read, I really think you should give it a try if you're nervous about starting classics. Put in an audiobook, read and listen at the same time. It really helps. And I think you should read it at least once in your lifetime. And can I just take a moment to point out how gorgeous this book is? Is it not the most stunning thing? Like the end papers, the artwork? Please, this edition is superior. Okay, 15th place is a book that is not popular. I've seen no one talk about it, and I'm utterly obsessed with. It's 100 Days of Sunlight by Abby Emmons, and it's the story of a 16-year-old girl who loses her sight for 100 days. And one day, this boy named Weston comes to help her write her blogs for her. And meanwhile, our main character Tessa is complaining about her life, complaining how she can't see, rightfully so. But she does this not knowing that Weston has no legs. And because she can't see him, he finally has someone in his life that doesn't look at him with pity. And shows her that sight is only one sense that you have. And the cutest part is that this book is split up into little sections. So you have smell, taste, hearing, touch, and of course, sight. I just love this book and need it to get more hype because it does such a good job at showing you the beauties of life and how to appreciate every aspect of being a human. It makes you so grateful to be alive, and I read it at a time where I really needed to hear that. Not to mention, the romance was super adorable. I would highly recommend if you want a feel-good, emotional book that will inspire you, encourage you, and touch your heart. Go give it a try for me. Do it for me, please. I beg you. Go read it. At 14th place is none other than Funny Story. The reason I'm not holding it up is because they have not yet put it out in paperback. I have every single one of her books in paperback. I'm not gonna buy the hardcover of Funny Story when I know they'll eventually put out a paperback, so I am waiting. I will not cave. I will not cave. Yet. Funny Story is probably now one of my favorite Emily Henry books. I personally loved it in every way. The writing, the pop culture references, the romance, the character growth, it really just checked every box. And the writing, you already know, Emily Henry has such a way with words. I will probably read anything that she puts out. This was just such a solid romance book. In 13th place is Heartless from the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. I love this series so much, but this was my favorite in the series. Cade he just did it for me. Not only is it my favorite in the series, but it's my favorite cowboy romance I've ever read. The amount of times I giggled is embarrassing. I just loved this one because she's nannying his kids for the summer and lives in his house, and the relationship that grows between her and his kids was one of my favorite. And the relationship between her and his daughter, I just loved this book. Literally the perfect cowboy romance, perfect nanny trope, perfect main guy. I will never shut up about this series, but this book really did something to me. There's a plane. How dare they fly as I'm filming a video. In 12th place is Circe by Madeline Miller. This is kind of a continuation of The Song of Achilles, which I also did read, but I just love this one by her more for many reasons, one of them being the main character is a woman. Sue me, I just like reading about women more. I deal with men enough on a daily basis. I don't need to be reading about them too. That was so mean, but true. I can't express how beautiful the writing was. I annotated this book pretty thoroughly, underlined so many things. Like, listen to this. Living with him was like standing beside the sea. Each day a different color, a different foam-capped height, but always the same restless intensity pulling towards the horizon. Like, what? Seriously, some of the most beautiful writing I've ever read. If you love Greek mythology, this is great for that. And if you just want a character to connect to, Circe will be that for you. This is a stunning book inside and out. Circe will be in my heart forever. Number 11 is another hockey romance. What can I say? Apparently I love hockey romances. But this, oh god, it quite possibly might be my favorite hockey romance book of all time. No, that's crazy. I might be so wrong, but it's a contender. Because you know what this hockey romance book had that none of the other ones do? She plays hockey too. I know you're already sold, right? She's playing on the same team as him. She's got the most badass attitude. And it's not just the way our main guy loves her, it's the way his entire team does. They all take her in and let her be a part of the team and will tell anyone off if they try to say she shouldn't be on the team because she's a girl. Iconic male behavior. The banter, the tension, the guy. It was just really good. Quite literally everything I've ever needed in a hockey romance. Her being on the same team as him playing hockey was literally a game changer. I don't know if I will ever come across another hockey romance book that sticks out to me the way Face Off does. Okay, we've reached the top 10. So in the 10th spot is Catcher in the Rye. Look, I don't even know how to talk about this book. It just impacted me so much. But the most special thing about reading this book was that this is a copy that my cousin annotated for me. It's got sticky notes and underlines and highlights, and my experience reading this was just so top tier. I read it in Alaska on a rainy day in a cabin, and it was just the ultimate vibe, and I really just love the way that literally nothing happens in this book. There's no plot. I'm pretty sure it takes place over the span of like 3 days, yet so much happened. The way our main character Holden views the world and views things, I had to put the book down multiple times and like stare at a wall. And our main character has a younger sister, and as someone who has a younger brother, the older sibling aspect will make me cry just thinking about it. I truly loved the writing. It made me think about so many things. It inspired me, and I just had such a great time reading it, and if you think you'd be interested, I would really give it a try. It's not that hard of a read, but you also feel kind of smart reading it, you know what I mean? I was really so surprised by how much this book impacted me. Ugh, this next book. Number 9, A Man Called Ove. No, I didn't. Ugh, that's so embarrassing. In my defense, I just watched the movie. A Man Called Ove. Oh my god, I'm gonna beat myself up for that later. Where do I start? Frederick Bachman, The Man You Are. I'm convinced this man can write no bad story. He can write a book about a grumpy old man who, if I met in real life, would probably dislike, and make you utterly love him and adore him and feel for him and cry for him. I just loved everything about the story. The side characters were so special. All of his neighbors, and Ove's story himself was so emotional. I really just have never come across a writer who can write the way that he does. Seriously, one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. I think about it probably every day. And if you haven't read any of Frederick's books, I would really recommend starting with this one. It's super easy to get into. Compared to his other books, there's not as many characters you have to follow. And it's just an emotional book about a grumpy old man. I want to cry thinking about it. I need to put it down. Ugh, talk about crying. Number 8, A Dragonfly in the Amber, which is the 3rd book in the Outlander series. I did read most of the Outlander books in the year of 2024, and this remains to be my favorite one. It is just such a unique plot and incredibly emotional, but oh my god, I just love these characters. Not me? Literally about to cry. Anyway, Jamie Fraser, Fergus, Murtaugh, 5 out of 5. One of the most emotional, unique, insane, intense, amazing books I've ever read. And to my cousin who made me read this, you better be paying for my therapy bills. Okay, number 7.
Dobby, put the lamp down.
7th is Caught Up by Liz Tomford, and this book just made me giggle more than any of her other books. One thing I learned about my reading year in 2024 is that I apparently love books where one of the characters has kids. When one character is overprotective of their child and the other character comes into their lives and the child is utterly obsessed with them, it just gets me. And I'm a sucker for a sports romance. The found family in this book specifically, literally so good. If you want a book or series to giggle to, read the Windy City series. This book just made me so happy, which is what you need in a romance book. Highly recommend. Okay, now number 6. I was so not expecting to be this high on my list, but I am so utterly obsessed with it that it cannot be any lower. And that is 1,000 Broken Pieces, the sequel to 1,000 Boy Kisses. And if you read 1,000 Boy Kisses and loved it, or didn't love it, read the second one, because I think I cried the whole way through, but also giggled so many times. It is such a perfect book about grief, and I feel like in romances it's hard sometimes to feel like the deep connection between two characters, but this just had it. And maybe it was because I'd read so many sports romances where it all starts because they're physically attracted to each other, but just going from that to a young adult book where these two kids just find each other and connect in such an important way was just so beautiful. If you want an emotional young adult read, please pick this up. I would say you have to read 1,000 Boy Kisses first, just because I don't think it'll hit you quite the same way, but please give it a try. It was just so surprising, and I think about it all the time. Okay, top 5 people. In the 5th spot, of course, another Abby Jimenez book. But not just any Abby Jimenez book. My favorite Abby Jimenez book, and debatably her best book. In this book, she just perfectly wrote the best rom-com with the best emotional connection ever. The way she writes about the little things you can do for your partner is unlike anything I've ever read. This was just such a beautiful book about a love you can find in the real world that also gives you the same giddiness as reading a book about love. The journey that these two characters go through to find each other, the writing, it's literally a perfect book. If you haven't picked it up yet, I don't know what you're doing. I couldn't hype it up anymore. Go read it. It is perfect. Do it. Number 4. This goddamn book. My favorite book in the Magnolia Park series. I can't explain how much love I have for Julian Hates. The way he loves Magnolia is so heartbreakingly beautiful, but I also loved BJ in this one, and this is some of the most beautiful writing I've ever come across. The metaphors that she can write are insane, because it's not necessarily the characters that you love, it's the way they're written and the way their love is written. I seriously feel like my heart was ripped out of my chest while reading this book multiple times, and I think about it so much. It's painful. And if you're hesitant about starting the series, at least to get to this book, okay? It's 5 out of 5 stars. It's so entertaining, such good writing, such imperfect characters that you somehow love. And the covers? Stunning. I'm obsessed with this book, seriously. Number 3. Number 3. I don't know how to talk about this book. It gets me so emotional. You read the back of this book and you gather that it's about a town that loves hockey. It does not tell you that it is so much more than that. I genuinely love every single one of these characters. They are all so well written, even the ones you don't even know their name. I don't know how he was able to pull off writing in so many perspectives so effortlessly and making you love all of them. But what really stands out to me when I think about this book is Benji Ovich. I am so glad I read this book because there's not a day that passes that I don't think about Benji. And specifically his relationship with Maya. So small but so meaningful, and all of the dynamics in the series were just so perfect. You have the older sister, you have friendship, you have mother-son, mother-daughter, daughter-son. I've never come across a male writer who can write about a woman's experience so perfectly. Frederick Bachman really is just a girly, because I don't know how he was able to write about women in such a powerful, beautiful way, and write about men in such a realistic way, but also just the relationships between people. Generally so beautiful, so good. I couldn't recommend this book more. You will love every character, every plot line. This book deserves all the love it can get. Number 2. You already know. What else would my number 2 spot go to? Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Now, ask me what the best book in the Throne of Glass series is, and I'd probably say Queen of Shadows. But this one was my favorite. The direction the series goes in, the new characters you meet, the romance. I don't think I've ever read a better enemies to lovers. And this was the first time I ever met Manon, and she's my favorite character in the entire series, so I'm gonna think of this book fondly. But also, the last line of this book had me pacing the room, pumping my fist like an idiot, ready to go to war. Some people might call this a setup book or a filler book, and yes, that's kind of true, but so what? The setup is so needed, and it is done in such a perfect way. Selena's journey in this book, you can't even imagine. This is just such a good series, filled with the best characters, a great plot, and if you're trying to get into fantasy, Sarah J. Maas in general, but this series, my Roman Empire. And my number 1 spot goes to Little Women. I started this book when I was 14 and never finished it, but then picked it back up and have not been able to stop thinking about it since. By the way, if you hear a jingly bell, it's my cat. If you love the movie and want to read the book, I would 100% do it because I watched the movie first and thought it was the best thing I've ever seen. And then I read the book, and there's so much in the book that you don't get in the movie that you need to be knowing about. I love this book so much because every chapter is its own adventure. Each of the sisters is such a beautiful representation of all the types of women. You have Jo, who is ambitious and wants to make her own way in the world. You have Beth, my personal favorite and possibly favorite female character of all time, who is just content being in her house with her family and doesn't particularly need to live a huge life, to Meg, who wants to start a family and is a perfect representation that being a stay-at-home mom deserves so much more credit than it's given, and perfectly captures domestic struggles, and Amy, who wants to make her own way in the world and also have a family. I honestly don't know if I've read a book that perfectly encapsulates women in every form and shows the struggles and the beauty of it. The writing is so fun, so whimsical. All of the characters you just get so attached to. As far as classics go, it's also one of the easiest ones to read. And if you just want a book that makes you appreciate life and captures girlhood and womanhood in the best possible way, I really think you should read this. I think every woman should read this book once in their lifetime. Not a day goes by that I don't think about this book and these characters and Beth. I can't even talk about Beth or I'll literally sob. Not because, her storyline, but because I don't think I've related to a character more than I relate to Beth. The chapter Beth's Secret, most relatable thing I've ever read in my entire life. And look at her. She's so stunning. I love this book so much. I want to be buried with it. Please, please, please read it. Okay, those were my favorite 24 books that I read in the year of 2024. I'm really excited for the year of 2025. There's so many other books that I want to read, but the ones I just talked about will be in my heart forever. I recommend all these books. I'm sure I will be talking about them many times in the future, and I hope you enjoyed me yapping for way too long, I'm sure. And if for some reason you like me and we have similar book taste, please subscribe and comment because I also want to make friends through this channel. I don't have very many friends that read, so if you've read any of these books and have anything to say, please comment because I want to talk about them with people. Thank you for watching. Bye!